Hi everyone! Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you guys some information about maternal neglect and how it relates to mood disorders such as anxiety and depression. As a disclaimer, I'm not a professional and that much of the information that I will be discussing is derived from various different sources. I will leave them in the description box below so you can check them out if you want to. But basically this video is mainly just meant to explore the topic and hopefully start a very important conversation between children and parents, and even just a discussion between adults and people thinking about having children. So, what is neglect? For some studies I researched, neglect was defined as the harming of one or more children through a serious lack of supervision or care, and mainly this serious lack of supervision or care was characterized by the contacting of people and organizations such as human services. So basically it's like documented serious malnourishment. Well, that is a very viable definition. I want to also expand on it and include the potential for neglect, which another study actually discusses. And basically I came up with this. Neglect is the lack of supervision or care, both in terms of physical needs and mental needs. Now that we have a definition, let's just jump into the studies. In one study, mice were tested instead of humans to test the neurobiological responses of baby mice, and one group of mice was put into a situation with a caring mother who nurtured them and groomed them, while another group of mice was put into a situation without a caring mother, left to their own disposal. However, I can't really say they were left to their own disposal entirely because they were still given the necessities of life like food and water. Aside from splitting up the baby mice, the scientists didn't really do much at all other than make observations. They basically just made observations up until the mice, both groups of mice, reached adulthood, and once both mice reached adulthood, that's when they began taking brain scans. After taking the two brain scans, they compared them. And what they found was that the group of baby mice that were left to their own disposal actually showed different levels of neuroinflammation. What this actually means is that there are differences between being raised in a normal, healthy way versus being raised left to your own disposal. And actually, what the scientists found about this neuroinflammation is that this neuroinflammation caused the inhibition of dopamine, which is actually a neurotransmitter that has a lot to do with the acquisition of things like mood disorders, so that was very interesting. While the mice study shows us the neurobiological side of things, another source actually provides a more personalized perspective through the use of a continuous study where 100 mothers were chosen to participate in this study based on their potential to neglect. The potential to neglect in this case is basically mothers at high risk of being neglectful based on their past lives, which you could look more into in the source below. Basically, these mothers were given a series of questionnaires before birth to basically gauge their potential, and then they were sent these questionnaires in a series of times before their child turned 10. And then once their child turned 10, they started testing the children to see the different neurological and social skills that these children acquired or did not acquire. And what they actually found in this study is that the mothers that ranked highest on the potential to neglect before birth had children who in the future were less adapted to social situations and oftentimes showed anxious behaviors or being unable to express their emotions constructively, and they also had lower cognitive abilities than those children who had mothers who did not rank as high on the potential to neglect scale. From these specific studies, along with the other resources that I left in the description box, you can definitely see the correlation between having a neglectful parental situation, specifically mothers, because these studies were only focused on mothers. So you can basically see how maternal neglect influences not only social behaviors, but literally the brain structure of an individual. And it's just important to know this because the implementation of things like phones, it's very easy for parents to just hand their phone over to their child and leave them alone to do what they wish while the parent does things like clean and do work. But it's important to realize that doing that can have an enormous impact on the child's social abilities and even their brain structure. So I just felt like I needed to discuss this with you guys and share this with you guys, because basically the majority of these studies show that neglect has the potential to increase the likelihood of a child growing up with anxiety and depression. And I feel like it's something that we can prevent, basically because you just need to take care of your child and give your child attention. So yeah, hopefully this video was helpful to some of you, and hopefully it was informative. Like I mentioned, I left a lot of the sources that I use below, or all of the sources that I use, in the description box below, and I encourage you guys to look into it and leave a comment if you have anything to talk about, or if you want to discuss anything. I'd be happy to. Thanks again for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.